Here from the University of Georgia. He works in customer service and engagement. Please help me welcome Robert Maddox.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Maddox. My passion falls at the intersection of community, advocacy, and engagement. Today, I'm going to talk about how to engage your advocates to grow your show. I'm happy to connect and talk more after the presentation, especially if I go too fast. I want to start this talk by safely assuming I'm speaking to independent creators as opposed to large brands. As an independent creator, it's nearly impossible to compete in the same way as large brands and companies, which is why it's important to adopt a guerrilla mentality. These two slides have photos of the Finns, American colonial militia, Viet Cong, and Ukrainian soldiers. They were able to beat back or hold back much larger armies than that of their own because they did not attack head-on. Instead, they used guerrilla warfare tactics that level the playing field. Larger brands are able to leverage large budgets for paid traffic and headcount. We independent creators do not have this luxury, but we are able to level the playing field by building bridges with our listeners. The ultimate goal is to build a community where listeners are connected with each other and your podcast. Then watch your podcast grow from the free PR. Now, the best platform to identify your advocates is Patreon. Patreon is a website where people can donate to the podcast they listen to. And creating an account is very simple. It can be done simply in 15 minutes or less. Getting to your first advocate. I'll now share some strategies, tools, and tactics to engage your advocates in 3 stages. Getting started, growing to 10, and scaling to 100 plus advocates. The first way to acquire your first advocates is to make a short announcement during your shows. I'd make these as brief and authentic, as spamming this ask is not recommended. It's never too early to start building a community around your show, mission, and message. The best way to start is to create a local meetup. Authentic in-person connections are a great way to convert visitors to listeners and listeners into advocates. So now that we have our infrastructure to attract advocates, we can now start growing this number. You'll need to maintain a guerrilla mindset for the best results within your monetary and time budgets. We'll continue to explore new tactics and tools while continuing to double down on what works and outsource or eliminate what isn't working. You want to build personal relationships with your early advocates, as they'll be more likely influenced to help your cause. The best tool to do this is Zoom. You want to set up one-on-one calls with your advocates to get to know them and ask why they chose to support your show. Now, the best way to save time connecting with your advocates is to use a tool like Calendly or TidyCal to schedule the calls if you're not already using one of these tools to schedule your interviews. Now, at this point, I've name-dropped 5 tools, and spoiler, I have 6 more. If used correctly, these tools will help you save time by automating the tasks and scaling your reach. Eventbrite's a great tool that sends organic traffic to your events, virtual and in person. Combined with Meetup, Eventbrite will funnel new people to your meetups, exposing to your show and your listeners so they can find unique experiential value. You'll also want to make sure your branding is on point. Canva is another free tool that makes your brand look professional and consistent, standing out from the crowd. You can take advantage of their hundreds of templates to create images for social media posts, event listings, and graphics. So now that we've grown our advocate count to 10, we can shift gears to scale to 100. This is where the fun really begins. We can begin to shift our focus to engaging our advocates at scale, but maintaining the guerrilla mentality is key. You still do not have access to the resource that large brands do. At this point, you'll notice your advocates are coming from other places around the world. Connecting your advocates with each other scales a lot better. You can use a tool called Hopin to make virtual happy hours. Their networking booth pairs attendees together one-on-one for an interval that you set. This is like speed dating becoming super popular. And at this point, you can leverage Eventbrite and Meetup to create a roadshow across the country and meet with your existing advocates. Send out surveys and ask where they are, and cross-check with your analytics on your hosting tool, like Buzzsprout, Podbean, or Libsyn. An example is Glenn the Geek with Horse Radio Network. He stated that his podcast had the most growth during his tour, where he stayed at his listeners' ranches and interviewed them on his show. Naturally, the advocates he stayed with told everyone they knew, resulting in a huge boost in organic traffic. As I mentioned before, the best way to create and cement connections is to break bread, drink, and learn with other like-minded people as yourself. And I'll say it again. The best way to make connections is to break bread, drink, and learn with other people like yourself. And these connections will convert into advocates. If you're not excited to meet your first 10 advocates, it may be difficult to grow your show at this point, because gone are the days where the number of followers and downloads prove to be the most important metrics. Engagement is key. Other tools to consider. An alternative tool to Patreon is Locals. It provides a similar value. You can also build a community for your listeners on heartbeat.chat Discord, or Slack. You can leverage a tool like MailChimp to build your email list. Thank you for your time and attention during this presentation today. If you found this information helpful and would like to follow up, talk with me afterwards and we can connect. My name is Robert Maddox, and my passion falls at the intersection of community, advocacy, and engagement. This presentation has been about engaging your advocates to grow your show. And one quick announcement, I'm helping Podfest out by creating some short 15-second video testimonials. So if you see me around the expo hall of my phone rig, and tell me why you come to Podfest and what you learned and stuff like that, they're going to feature on social media, and it really helps the brand. Thank you guys.